New York is officially on Alex Eala's radar, and this time, the pressure is completely different. Alex has arrived in the city ahead of the 2026 US Open, and she is not coming in as an unknown teenager hoping to make a name for herself. She is coming in as a WTA champion, a career-high top 20 player, and one of the most talked-about young stars in women's tennis. The US Open main draw does not begin until August 30th, but Alex's tournament has already started in one important sense: the preparation, the expectations, and the question everyone is asking right now is simple. Just how far can Alex Eala go in New York? Alex landed in New York after a remarkable stretch of hard-court tennis across North America, and almost immediately, she got to work. Instead of treating the days before the US Open as a vacation, Alex has been on the practice courts, including Arthur Ashe Stadium, working with coach Joan Bosch as she prepares for the final Grand Slam of the season. That image alone tells you how much has changed around Alex. A year ago, simply getting into the US Open main draw and winning a Grand Slam match was already historic. Now, she arrives in New York with expectations that are much bigger. And there is a reason those expectations are so high. Alex's 2026 season has gone from promising to genuinely significant. She has collected major wins, broken through against elite opposition, won her first WTA singles title in Washington, made another deep run in Toronto, and climbed all the way to a career-high world number 20. ESPN described the Cincinnati tournament as another important stage in her rapid rise, noting that her North American hard-court results had already pushed her to that career-best ranking. But before we talk about what happens next, we need to understand how Alex got here. Because the New York story makes very little sense without the journey that came immediately before it. The North American hard-court swing has been one of the biggest chapters of Alex's 2026 season. She entered Washington after Wimbledon with plenty of questions surrounding her. Instead of slowing down, she accelerated. At the Mubadala DC Open, Alex defeated a series of high-level opponents and reached her second career WTA Tour final. Then came the match that changed everything again. Standing across the net was world number 3 Jessica Pegula, one of the most established players on the WTA Tour. Alex had already proven that she could compete with the best, but winning a WTA final against a player of Pegula's level required another step, and Alex took it. She lost the first set 6-4, fought back to take the second 6-4, and then produced a stunning 6-0 final set to win the title. It was her first WTA singles championship and the biggest singles title of her career. That victory did more than put a trophy in Alex's collection. It changed the conversation around her. She was no longer simply a player with potential. She was now a WTA champion. And that distinction matters. There are plenty of young players who produce one huge upset. There are players who have one magical week. But winning a WTA title requires surviving multiple rounds, adjusting to different opponents, handling pressure, managing fatigue, and then performing when the championship is actually within reach. Alex did all of that in Washington. She then carried that momentum into Toronto for the National Bank Open. There, she continued to show why hard courts have become such a comfortable environment for her. Alex defeated Alicia Parks and Katie McNally before reaching the round of 16, where she faced Belinda Bencic. The run in Toronto was eventually stopped by Bencic, who defeated Alex 6-4, 6-0. That ended Alex's 7-match winning streak. The loss was disappointing, especially because of the one-sided second set. But it did not erase what Alex had accomplished. In fact, it made the next phase of her season even more interesting. She went straight into Cincinnati, another WTA 1000 event, and entered the tournament as the number 17 seed. That seeding was itself a sign of how quickly her status had changed. Not long ago, Alex was fighting simply to establish herself inside the main draw of major tournaments. Now she was receiving a first-round bye at one of the biggest events. Outside the Grand Slams, Alex opened her Cincinnati campaign against Elena Gabriela Ruse and controlled the match before Ruse retired because of an ankle injury while trailing 6-1, 3-0. It was not the kind of finish any player wants, but Alex had done her part. She had been playing well, finding the ball cleanly and maintaining her focus. Afterward, Alex also showed the sportsmanship that has become one of the quieter parts of her rise, wishing Ruse a speedy recovery and acknowledging that injuries are never easy. Then came Amanda Anisimova, and this was exactly the kind of test Alex needed before the US Open. Anisimova entered the match ranked inside the world's top 10, and the contest quickly turned into a battle between two players who can take the ball early and attack from the baseline. Alex won the opening set 6-4, showing the same confidence that had carried her through Washington and Toronto. But Anisimova refused to disappear. The American responded by taking the second set 6-4, forcing the match into a decider. In the third set, Anisimova pulled away and eventually won 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. Alex's Cincinnati campaign was over, but the match still provided valuable information heading into New York. One unusual moment from that match even became a talking point beyond the tennis itself. During a changeover, Anisimova was seen drinking what initially looked like a mysterious golden beverage, prompting commentators and fans to speculate about what exactly was in the cup. The mystery was later resolved. It was Red Bull. But the bigger story was what happened on the court. Anisimova absorbed Alex's early pressure, changed the momentum, and found another level when the match reached the deciding set. For Alex, that defeat should not be viewed simply as a failure to reach the next round. It was a three-set match against a top 10 opponent in the final major tournament preparation event before the US Open. More importantly, Alex had already gone deep in Washington and Toronto and had played a huge number of matches during the North American swing. The physical and mental demands of that schedule are part of the bigger story. In fact, Alex has been among the WTA's busiest high-ranked players this season. Before Cincinnati, reports noted that she had played more matches than any other player inside the WTA top 20. That statistic tells you two things at once. First, she has earned her ranking by consistently competing. Second, managing her body and energy becomes increasingly important as her schedule gets tougher. That is one of the biggest questions surrounding Alex as she enters New York. Can she maintain the intensity that has made her so dangerous without allowing fatigue to take away the sharpness that makes her game work? Because Alex's style depends heavily on timing. She likes to take the ball early. She can redirect pace. She can turn defense into offense quickly. When her footwork is synchronized with her swing, she can make elite opponents uncomfortable because she refuses to give them much time. That was obvious during her breakthrough run in Miami in 2025, when her victories over major opponents introduced her to a much wider audience. The US Open itself later became another historic chapter when she won her first Grand Slam main draw match, becoming the first Filipino player in the Open era to accomplish that feat. The US Open has therefore already been a special place in Alex's story. But the 2026 version of Alex is entering Flushing Meadows with a completely different identity. She is now ranked around the top 20. She is a WTA champion. She has experience against the biggest names in the sport. And she has already proven that she can handle the pressure of a major American crowd. There is also another major milestone waiting for her. Alex is set to become the highest-seeded Filipino singles player in a major at the 2026 US Open. Reports from the Philippines have highlighted the significance of her seeding and the historical importance of what she is accomplishing. Think about what that means. For decades, Filipino tennis fans had very few opportunities to see one of their own players enter a Grand Slam singles draw with genuine expectations of making a deep run. Alex has changed that. She is no longer entering simply to gain experience. Every tournament now carries ranking implications, seeding implications, and expectations from fans who have watched her climb. And New York may be the biggest stage of all, Alex herself has spoken positively about the atmosphere surrounding the U.S. Open. The official tournament profile highlighted her affection for New York and the unique energy of the fans. She has described the atmosphere as exciting and different from the other Grand Slams. That environment could become one of her biggest advantages. There is something else happening this week that makes Alex's schedule even more interesting. The U.S. Open is not simply about the women's singles draw anymore. Alex has also been given a wild card into the reimagined U.S. Open Mixed Doubles Championship, where she will team up with Canadian star Felix Auger-Aliassime. This is not just a routine doubles appearance. The 2026 mixed doubles field is packed with some of the biggest names in tennis. Aryna Sabalenka is partnering Novak Djokovic. Iga Swiatek is teaming with Casper Ruud. Jessica, teaming with Casper Ruud. Jessica. Pegula is paired with Taylor Fritz. Serena Williams and Carlos Alcaraz have also received a wild card. Alex and Auger-Aliassime are part of that star-studded field. Auger-Aliassime has publicly expressed excitement about teaming up with Alex, adding another interesting layer to the New York story. The two are expected to make their first competitive appearance together in the Mixed Doubles Championship. The mixed doubles event begins before the traditional singles main draw. Qualifying is scheduled for August 24th, while the first round and quarterfinals take place on August 25th, with the semifinals and finals scheduled for August 26th. The singles main draw begins August 30th, and the official women's singles draw is scheduled to be revealed on Thursday, August 27th. That means Alex's next competitive appearance could come very soon, and that is where things become particularly fascinating. Alex does not yet know her singles opponent for the U.S. Open because the women's singles draw has not been released. So there is no legitimate way to say today who she will face in the first round. Any claim that she already has a confirmed singles opponent would be premature. What we can say is that the draw will determine the immediate tactical challenge. If Alex gets a big server, she will need to protect her service games and avoid giving away cheap points early in rallies. If she draws a counterpuncher, patience becomes critical. Against another aggressive baseliner, the match could become a battle for first strike tennis. And against a top seed, the pressure will shift dramatically because Alex will have less to lose and an enormous opportunity to gain. The beauty of the Grand Slam draw is that one match can completely change the trajectory of a tournament. And Alex now has enough experience to understand that. The biggest development in her game this season has arguably been her ability to remain composed against elite opposition. The wins over established players have not come from one magical shot. They have come from her ability to stay engaged when matches become uncomfortable. That was visible in Washington. Against Pegula in the final, Alex lost the first set. A player in her position could easily have started pressing, especially with a first WTA title sitting within reach. Instead, she reset. She took the second set and then completely dominated the decider. That kind of response is more important than any single statistic because it demonstrates competitive resilience. But Cincinnati also showed the other side of the equation. Against Anisimova, Alex won the opening set and had the match moving in her direction. But once Anisimova adjusted, Alex could not regain control of the contest. That is the sort of match that can become extremely valuable in the long run, because it reveals exactly where the next level of development needs to happen. Alex's coach Joan Bosch has made that point himself. Despite Alex's rapid rise, Bosch believes there is still plenty of room for improvement. That is an important message, because the danger for a young player after a breakthrough is believing that the breakthrough is the destination. For Alex, it should be viewed as the beginning. The next improvements could come in several areas. Her serve remains an important part of the equation. Against the best players, free points become increasingly valuable, and the ability to protect a lead with a reliable first serve can be the difference between winning a tight set and being dragged into a long battle. Her physical conditioning is equally important. Alex has played a huge number of matches this season, and the modern WTA schedule demands enormous physical resources. The goal is not simply to become stronger, it is to become more efficient, to recover faster, manage matches better, and maintain intensity deep into tournaments. Then there is the mental side. Alex is no longer surprising everyone. That may be one of the biggest changes of all. When Alex defeated top players during her breakout periods, she could walk onto the court with very little external expectation. Now opponents know what she can do. They study her. They prepare for her. They know she can hurt them from the baseline. They know she can handle pressure. And they know that if they give her momentum, the crowd can become part of the equation. That is what happens when a young player becomes a real contender. The target gets bigger, the attention gets louder, and the margins get smaller. Alex has already experienced a taste of that pressure in 2026, and she has generally responded extremely well. Now she gets the ultimate test in New York. The US Open is where Alex made history in 2025, but this time the goal is not simply to win one Grand Slam match. The goal is to see whether the version of Alex that dominated parts of the North American hardcourt swing can translate that form into a deep run at the sport's final major of the season. The conditions may actually suit her. Hard courts have become one of the surfaces where Alex looks most comfortable. Her ability to take the ball early, redirect pace, and attack from both sides can be particularly effective on a fast American hard court. And the energy of New York is unlikely to intimidate her. If anything, it could amplify her confidence. But there is a delicate balance. Alex cannot allow the excitement around her to become a distraction. The fans will be watching. Filipino supporters will be watching from New York, Manila, and around the world. Tennis analysts will be watching. Her opponents will be watching. And because of her ranking, every match now carries greater consequences. Yet the best thing Alex can do is exactly what she has been doing on the practice court. Focus on the next ball, not the ranking, not the headlines, not the history, not the expectations, just the next ball. That approach has already taken her from a teenage prospect to a WTA champion. And there is another reason the US Open matters so much for her ranking. Alex is now operating in territory where every Grand Slam round can have a meaningful impact on her position among the world's best players. A strong run could push her even closer to the top tier, while an early loss would not erase the progress she has made, but would provide fewer opportunities to add valuable ranking points. Her current career-high ranking of number 20 is itself evidence of how dramatically her 2026 results have changed her position in the WTA landscape. Prize money will also become increasingly significant as Alex advances. The US Open is one of the most lucrative tournaments in tennis, but the exact amount she earns will depend on how far she progresses. The important point is that Alex is now competing from a completely different financial and professional position than she was during the early part of her career. Every round is another opportunity. Every victory adds ranking points. Every deep run increases experience, and every match against an elite opponent becomes another lesson. That is why the Cincinnati defeat should not dominate the narrative going into New York. Alex lost to a top 10 opponent in 3 sets. She won the first set. She fought through a difficult match. She did not produce the result she wanted, but she now has fresh information about what happens when an opponent changes the rhythm against her. That information can be useful, and the timing may be perfect. Because instead of having to wait months to apply those lessons, Alex now has the US Open right in front of her. The tournament atmosphere is already building. US Open Fan Week officially runs from August 23 through August 29, and the tournament has been expanding its presence across New York with fan experiences and activities throughout the city. The official US Open has described this year's theme as "Celebrating Our New York Story," emphasizing the connection between the tournament, the city, and its fans. For Alex, that means she is walking into a city that is already buzzing about tennis. And she has already become one of the stories people want to follow. Her arrival is therefore more than a travel update. It is the beginning of another chapter. The practice sessions matter. The recovery sessions matter. The mixed doubles matches matter. The stars of the Open exhibition matters. And then finally, the singles draw arrives. Alex is also scheduled to participate in Stars of the Open at Arthur Ashe Stadium on August 27th, alongside Eva Jovic, João Fonseca, and Lerner Tien. The event will give fans another chance to see Alex under the lights before the singles competition begins. Then comes the real test. August 30, the US Open singles main draw. A new opponent, a new match, a new opportunity, and potentially another piece of Filipino tennis history. The most exciting part is that nobody knows exactly how far this run can go. That uncertainty is what makes sports so compelling. Alex could make another deep Grand Slam run. She could face a difficult draw and have to fight through a brutal opening match. She could produce another huge upset against a top player. Or she could discover a new challenge that exposes an area she still needs to improve. Whatever happens, this is no longer about asking whether Alex belongs at this level. She does. The question now is how high she can climb. And that is a completely different question. At 21 years old, Alex still has enormous room to develop. She is already a WTA champion, already a top 20 player, already a Grand Slam match winner, and already a player capable of beating elite competition. Her coach still sees areas where she can improve, which may be one of the most encouraging signs of all. Because if Alex can continue improving while maintaining the competitiveness that has brought her this far, the ceiling becomes extremely difficult to define. The next stage is not about proving that the Washington title was real.